Brothers and sisters, good afternoon. My name is Alex Cisneros. I'm the FAC rep of Southern California TradeCon with the Air Traffic Controllers Bargaining Unit. Thank you so much for taking this afternoon to join us today for this very important event, an opportunity to talk to people that are running for office and that want to hear your voice. Like aviation safety professionals that we all are, we're just asking for a little respect, respect amongst each other. This is an open forum where everyone can have a conversation. We value conversations, we value communication, and more than anything, the interaction between all of this collective of aviation safety professionals. So before Nick and Jamal take the stage, Brad, do you have a few words for the Region X bargaining unit?
I do. Thank you, Alex. I'd first off like to say, Nick and Jamal, thank you for extending this to us. I know we've coordinated this over really the last 6-8 weeks to figure out what would work in everybody's schedule. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your insight, your information that you can share with our Region X brothers and sisters on this call. I will say, as all of you likely on this call know, I'm a huge fan of this team of Nick Daniels and Jamal-Haltom for a variety of reasons. Clearly, I see Nick Daniels and Jamal-Haltom as the professionals in the room, those with integrity, those with honesty, those with character, those with trustworthiness, those who are going to bring back the stature that we need in this union every single day moving forward. And I am excited to hear what they have to say for us tonight. There is nothing pre-rehearsed here. They are open, they are live, and they are real. So, gentlemen, thank you and welcome.
Brother, truly appreciate it. And, briefly before I introduce myself, Brad, I just have to say thank you for not only the mentorship, the friendship over the past 2.5 years of being on the National Executive Board. I only knew Brad in passing previous to this, and seeing him not only spend all of his time looking out for others, he has spent a majority of his time just, calling, ensuring that we are moving forward as a union, that we're all on the same page together, that everything is clear between one another, and couldn't thank him enough for being the leader that he is. With that being said, I'm Nick Daniels. I'm the NACA Southwest Regional Vice President. I was originally started my air traffic career in the United States Marine Corps from 1998 to 2003. I then was injured, was not able to stay in the Marine Corps. I planned to retire from the Marine Corps with my brother, Mark Roush, who I started air traffic control school with at one time when I was 19 years old. And since life had other ideas and directions for me, I applied to the FAA. I was hired in March of 2003. I was assigned to Addison Tower in Dallas, Texas. I was originally from Texas. I really was hoping to be on one of the coasts as a young adult, but I ended up right back at home and embraced it. I worked there for 2 years, and then I was transferred, put in paperwork to go to Fort Worth Center. I was selected over to Fort Worth Center in 2005, where I served in 6 years of roles as area representative. I worked the Northeast corner post going into DFW, so all the traffic flowing that direction. I was the representative for about 50 members in that area for 6 years. I took over as secretary at Fort Worth Center. Fort Worth Center is about 300 members in total size. I was then the vice president. I was 6 years as the facility representative. I spent 3 years as an alternate regional vice president in our region simultaneously. And now I have been 2.5 years as the role of Southwest Regional Vice President. Outside of that, I have a son who graduated high school yesterday, and it was beyond excited to go and see him walk the stage. And I also have a 6-year-old daughter who is the main one in charge. She keeps me constantly moving and going, but I'm excited to be here with all of you. Thanks for those who have shown up tonight. Over to you, Jamal.
Hello, all. I'm Jamal-Haltom. I first have to beg your pardon if somehow the audio is not great or the video. I am doing this from a car. I am at Oklahoma City for a meet and greet where we meet new trainees, prospective controllers, and impart knowledge on them about what the union's about. So I have to start that in a little under an hour. So if it's still going at that point and I have to go, please, again, I beg your pardon for that. But as I said, I'm Daniels-Haltom. I'm NACA's National Training Representative. I'm a candidate for Executive Vice President of the union, and too started my career in the military back in 1999, served to 05, worked at a few contract towers. I transitioned to the FAA in 07, Las Vegas TRACON, moved on from there to Tamiami Tower in Miami, Florida, back to Las Vegas so I could afford a house at Las Vegas Tower. Loved my time there, served as a secretary initially, and then a FAC rep. Had the distinguished honor of being one of 8 members of NACA to negotiate the slate book on our behalf in 2015 and 16. I've served in several capacities, and to me, the biggest and most important capacity is just NACA member. That's where you start your influence and your belief in labor. I have a strong belief in labor and look forward to getting to know you all better and you all getting to know us better as we spend some time with you. So nothing's off limits, and we're better when we answer questions that you have. So leave nothing, no stone unturned if you have questions for us. And thank you very much for being here.
Great. Thank you both, Jamal, Nick, Brad, for those introductions. Like Brad mentioned earlier, this is pretty straightforward. The gentlemen here, they're here to answer questions and from you. That's who they want to hear from. They've been to over 155 different facilities in this country to hear from the members. So please, you see the chat button there. If you have a question, just type it in. We'll read the question. If you that's one of the formats. The other format, just put the raise hand function on. We'll click on your name, and if you could just turn your camera on. Just this is a safe space. We're all union members, so we can have that discussion. There's nothing like face-to-face conversation, even though this is via Zoom. We still get to see each other. Facial expressions matter. Who we are matter. So please type into the chat button or raise your hand, and we'll be happy to have open up those lines of communication so we can learn a little bit about each other.
Well,
perfect. We have our first question of the evening, Mr. Alex Hendrickson. I'm going to hit the unmute button. If you could hit the unmute button on your end, and there you go. The floor is all yours, my friend.
Hey, how's it going, guys? So I think for Region X, one of the biggest issues that we have is membership rates compared to the air traffic regions. Our membership rate is pretty low. Are there any plans to increase membership rate among Region X and get them more involved? Because I'm pretty sure, as far as region sizes go, we would be one of the larger regions among all 10 of them if we had membership rates similar to air traffic.
Yeah, Alex, thanks for being here, brother. It's great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
4,000 bargaining unit employees make up Region X, approximately 1,100 members as it currently exists. So you're right. The potential to continue and increase the membership and be one of the largest membership regions in the country. The next closest is about 3,000, I believe, 200 with the southern region, which encompasses Florida and about 5 large centers. So yeah, Region X has that potential. And what would we do? We'd absolutely, I see John Bratcher, who's the alternate regional vice president. He's also on this call, on the organizing committee. And no, there's a consistent talk about Region X and different initiatives that we can do, which Jamal and I would be completely in support of. What I think that we need to do is start putting out the information in front of our membership so they see. One of the easiest things that you can do as a leader is allow self-correction to occur, or just awareness to occur. And that's showing. Let's look at all of our different bargaining units. Let's look at the size, the strength. How many members have joined Region X? And you have to start putting that out because the momentum begins to build energy, right? And to see that energy. Look at OSF Fast Group right now and the energy that they're building on. See Alan Casey out at, continuously working to increase awareness, and it's using and capitalizing on ideas like that. What's working for Alan? what message is being missed, and just continuing to revamp that. But every time Alan signs somebody up, what we should be showing to the members is 5 members signed up this week in Region X. We've had 10 in a row at the one of the locals sign up upon getting to the local. Just ideas and continuous feedback like that, I think, will help and go a long way. Jamal and I also speaking about it when we go out in front of the membership and building the energy and momentum behind it. It takes leaders breathing that into the ethos to really start a movement, and it's not something that we'll be silent about. Jamal, I don't know if you have other ideas that you want to hit from there, brother.
Yeah, despite our profession being air traffic control, being a member of a labor union is something that we all share. So visiting those locations, knowing that you have, 10 different specialties, if you will, or bargaining units, and 13 locals stretching from Seattle to Massachusetts, is opportunities to go in, meet the people where they are, show the impact of having national leadership come around, regional leadership, and not just regional leadership being Region X, the NACA air traffic region that is in the associated locality, visiting to show just that, increasing our esprit de corps, if you will, our engagement, our involvement with one another, and just the truth. The truth is the strength lies in numbers. We're a labor organization, and we take it as a challenge to say that we have a particular section or element of our union that has low numbers. We should take that personal and find out ways to engage and increase those numbers so Region X can, when they roll into their contracts, that the agency knows that the strength lies with the numbers, that they're a highly motivated group that is involved, engaged, and has a high membership percentage. So, doing so won't be easy, but I know we have the right people to do it. And it starts with national leadership, showing face in those locations, and not just showing face, but being able to speak to the issues, being able to show people why it would be important to join the union and what the actual benefits of being a member of that union is. And that's just being a part of labor. So absolutely, Alex, we take that extremely serious and look at it as a challenge that we want to take on head first.
Thank you. Great question. We've had several people join in the last few minutes. I just want to go over the format one more time. This is an open session. Please, the candidates are here to listen to you, hear from you. Any questions, any ideas, especially the ideas. I mean, they go a long way. That's how our union grows and gets stronger. So if you have any comments, any ideas that you'd like to share, you can put them into the chat function on Zoom, or simply raise your hand. We'll call on you, hit the unmute button. And if you could just turn on your camera, we'll get this show going. Next question is from Jason Holland. Jason, there you go, sir.
All right. Thanks for being here and taking the time to talk to us. This isn't actually a specific Region X question, but I am on the legislative committee, so it's going to be a legislative question. What do you guys would say like your legislative philosophy is going to be? Assuming you win the election and take leadership, just kind of some of your goals and like how you'd like to work on our legislative stuff.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll start it. If I'm choppy, Nick, take over for me because I'm sure we see it the same way. Thank you, Jason. It's interesting because we met at rep training when you asked, could you provide a legislative briefing? And sight unseen, not knowing who you were, our answer was yes, because where there's passion, there's opportunity, and you knocked it out of the park for us. So part of that is getting back to making sure that it's member led and not just at NACA in Washington, to make sure that the committee, those who put their whole heart interest into that, are able to lead it and their ideas come to fruition, or if they don't, they're explained to why they aren't. That committee has led our union in places that me as an LR specialist, I wouldn't be able to, and the acknowledgement of that makes sense to me. You're going to lose the engagement of the people if you keep trying to steal their ideas. We've consistently said that. If you're not willing to identify where the information is coming from, if you're not willing to engage in building those relationships, and if those relationships are only so you can say, look what I did, then you're going to be I alone trying to do that. So we turn it back over to the actual legislative committee and then provide support to them where it needs to be. What we see right now, Joel Ortiz is my RVP, and he's adamant that we're failing our legislative committee because we're not letting them lead from the front. So that would be what we do. We reach across the aisle, we connect with whomever from a national perspective, and then we make sure that our boots on the ground. Also, that was one thing that was said by Mick early in this NEB is that we could replace our boots on the ground, our RNAV specialists with poli-sci majors. You can never do that. We have to invest in those people and make sure that they're given what they need in order to invest back in this union. So, Jason, I think that answers it. If it doesn't, or if Nick has more to add, or if you have ideas for us, we'll gladly listen to those because that's how we get better.
Jason, did you have anything that you wanted to add there, brother?
You got to unmute him again, I think, Alex.
I got him. There you go. Go ahead, Jason.
All right, thanks. Sorry about that. I was trying to figure out if I could unmute or not. It said I definitely couldn't. No, I think that was pretty good as far as the general philosophy goes. I just didn't maybe more for Nick if there's any specific like legislative things we want to concentrate on. I know we're working on staffing for this year's NACA in Washington, and it's going to be continual push for staffing. But specifically, is anything about Region X F&E funding stuff? Any thoughts about that?
I would say the main thing that has been going out and talking to the members right now is we need some member-driven legislative, or how to say, membership-driven and led legislation as well. We are all bound by either service areas, facilities, and some people are having to some people remote work these days. Some people are living in different states due to cost of living, and then commuting long distances for the days that they have to come in. We need to look at aviation safety professionals in the ways that we can not be carved out specifically, but looking at how do we help them with their dollar and the buying power with the backing of the government. If we're going to be government employees, continue running the safest, most efficient, most complex airspace in the world during the time of COVID, so that way COVID vaccines can be transferred from any place in the country to around the world or wherever they were needed. It took all of us being a part of that and keeping the system running. The government and we were going to ask for them to invest back in us. So I think that is one of the initiatives that I would really like to see in our 3 years in office, is not just organizationally, but also very member-centric around aviation safety professionals and how we can go out and maybe get loans at a lower rate like the VA does. How do we take our buying power, right, and expand it? Ideas like that, I think, are the next evolution of where we need to go for labor, while protecting the box for all of our professions and our career as well.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that, Jason, and to all that are listening, is generally, we have done a good job of telling our story, particularly for air traffic control, as it relates to staffing. And even in that, and it relates directly to Region X, it's great to get the staffing over the hump, or at least start that process. But the next thing is how we're going to fund these entities, right? So we're underfunded on all fronts, F&E. We're underfunded in the ability to staff, to hire. So we have to increase the funding for both air traffic and in our Region X bargaining units to ensure that we can even hire enough people. And the only way to get the pay increased also is to have a higher funding stream. So we've sat on a flat funding for nearly a decade. It's time that our legislative push is to increase funding, and not only our legislative push, but our push as we address the American public through media means is to say we need to be funded better so that we can provide service to you more appropriately. And that's tying legislation to our comms department.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I see Bruce and Donna Sanchez and Sam have their hand raised. Before we get to you, we're going to go to the chat function. This is from Jillian. She says, I'm in my son's martial arts class. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this at your martial arts class. But I would like to know what issues you believe still need continued NACA support specifically for Region X. And specifically, what are your views and support behind telework and remote positions?
You want me to start with the first half, Jamal?
Sure.
Okay. So as far as, I think it was said to believe to still continued NACA support specifically for Region X. One of the things that Jamal and I got a chance to experience early on, right, being on the air traffic side of things, is Jamal and I are both on the National Training Committee. We were there from very early on, I think actually when it was founded, and then our union decided we need to have a committee doing oversight of the training that goes on inside of it. Mike McDonald, previous regional vice president for Region X, was also on that committee. And his level of education and pouring on to us was amazing. And Brad has only continued to go forward with it from there. But one of the things that he said that will forever resonate with me is that there was, different fork in the road, we'll call it, and how we were going to teach rep training in the future. And it was, we could do a different one for Region X and then one for air traffic. And we all collectively said in that room that day that as long as we were in the room, that would never happen because of how important it is to have every one of our members together as one family. It's not two different NACAs. It's not a Region X NACA and an FAA or air traffic NACA. It's one. And we need to learn more about each other. We need to be in the room more often and continuously figure out how we can help one another. How can an air traffic controller bring information if they heard this thing was going on, which you know to be false, or you can help provide information to facility representatives. Hey, did you know this project was going on? Or did you know this funding is available? Or did you know that, these UCR files? Or did you have information? Region X is the front line to so many of the projects and information that are going to have long-term ramifications, not only on an airport or an airfield, but overall procedures and process. Everything from the ORM process that's happening right now to the new storm process that's happening, right? With the strategic and tactical operational risk management that you all are doing. And that came from Region X ensuring that air traffic was going to be included in real-time decisions. So those, capitalizing on those points, but not just stopping there, or what Jamal and I are going to bring to it. The experience that we've had, the time that, leaders have taken to invest in us, but always being under that fundamental belief that we are one family, we are one NACA, and we have to capitalize on how we communicate better and give each other and feed each other the information that will best benefit one another. Jamal, if you want to take telework or remote positions, I can help jump in after that.
Sure. I mean, our position is very clear and easy to articulate that we're pro telework and pro remote work. And we're also pro doing our part to make sure that that happens, right? How do we go about that is we show the capability of getting the work done, and we make the agency identify what work isn't being done that is an impediment to having telework or remote work. We know the cost of almost everything in the United States and the world, for that matter, has gone up, and telework's a way to offset that. We understand also the administration's interest in having people occupy offices so that we all do our part to contribute to the economy, but we can't have it fixed on our backs. I walked through Oklahoma City today and saw mostly empty cubicles are on my fingernails, cubicles. And I still know that the work was being done because I work with those people. I know that you don't need to be monitored, that in most instances you can do your work remotely or via a telework agreement. You just want to know what that agreement is. It's languished since 2010 in some of your CBAs and later in others. And there's never been a firm answer as to what it could be. I think everyone works better when they understand the rules. And we as NACA have to get those rules to be crystal clear and transparent. And again, lean toward the employees. We would have to agree to things like having our cameras on, being accountable. Ways we can help get that is to continue to show the professionalism that you have, hit deadlines, exceed or meet or exceed deadlines, and continue to do the wonderful work that you have. And I don't see any reason why the agency would be able to say no. We have to have data, and again, they have to have data if they're going to say no to that. So, hope that answers your question well. We're going to be very crystal clear that we are pro telework to the maximum extent and remote work where it fits, and we want our people to enjoy the benefits that the rest of the world has begun to benefit as we see that changing and transitioning from in office to doing the job wherever you are.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Jillian, if you need a follow-up, again, please just type it into the chat function and we'll get to it here shortly. Next, we're going to go to Bruce and Donna Sanchez.
I can unmute, but my wife's computer the camera does not function. So I wish it were face to face. Hey, Nick and Jamal, I had a great time meeting you guys in Vegas a few weeks ago. I was absolutely impressed with your intelligence, knowledge, passion. It's helping me go forward as a rep as well. I was wondering, as you're putting together your strategy for election and all, way back, months and months ago when you guys were inspired to put yourselves out there in the election, what really were the top 5 key reasons why you guys decided this is what we want to do, and because of these, top 5, 10 things, these are the strategies we can implement to make things better for everybody? Big question, but
I would expect nothing less from you than a big question. And man, it was great to meet you as well. And thank you for taking the time to be here with us. I forgot to mention, Jillian, I hope your son or daughter wins in whatever karate is going on. Hopefully they come out and are crowned the champion of the practice for the day. But nonetheless, I'll take one. Jamal, if you want to volley these back and forth, how about we do that? I'll say number one, we'll start off here with at one point, Rich had gone to a professional women's controller. And this wasn't the sole reason, but I think telling the story as Jamal and I bullet these out is important. Rich went to a professional women's controller conference in San Juan about a year or year and a half ago. I don't remember the exact date. Now, it was specifically asked by the PwC president, the professional women's controller president, would he be seeking re-election? Would he be running again? And he very, directly replied, no, he would not be seeking re-election. He was not going to run again. He believed that his time had passed of being in this role as president. So that, very statement obviously resonated with me of, man, you do not want to leave a union of 15,200 members going, wait, what? Who's going to lead us forward? Or the fact that we were now kind of in a lame duck situation of the agency knowing there will be another president, and what they may or may not try to do as far as not only FAA but industry, Congress, and everyone looking to say who is going to want to, or who will be stepping up to lead this union. So Jamal and I quickly had a discussion about that. We were both passionate about the direction where we are and where we know we can be and want to go, and we didn't believe we were headed in the right direction anyways. And that told us we need to make sure the membership knows that 2 people are willing to step up and fight for their rights, advocate on their behalf in every way, shape, or form. So I'll stop there on that one, Jamal, if you wanted to take it.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. And the adjectives that you described us as are very kind. And one of the things that led me to wanting to do this was empathy. I think that to be a good leader, you have to be empathetic. And I think that our current leadership in some ways lacks empathy. I take it as a personal affront. My good friend Nate Payer is on here, and he will often say, you guys in DC have lost touch. Well, I take that seriously, and I try to challenge myself to see, is that possible? I have a significant other that's an air traffic controller. I have friends in Region X. I'm around Britton and Anthony and I see Gwendolyn, I see Brad, I see all you, and I connect immediately and say, those people need someone in a leadership position that says, although I don't do your job, I have your back. You're valuable to me. I value who you are. I value your dedication to this profession, to the American public. And it's not about me as an individual, but I'll be a conduit to showing the world that you matter as professionals. I thought that was missing. I thought that it was being mailed in somewhat. I thought we had gotten to a place where we coronate who's next. And as to me, an example, the last time there was an election, there was a full endorsement from the National Executive Board, which essentially told anyone else that might consider running for any of those positions to stand down. I didn't like that. I didn't think that was a good representation of our union. So I thought we should try something else. So that's one of the reasons here. I'll give one more and then I'll volley it back to Nick, because you asked for 5. So we're up to 2 right now. I thought that we didn't do a good job, or we still don't do a good job of dispelling that the regions are just so we can divvy up the work. Region X, Alaskan region, Southern region, they're just all one NACA. As Nick said in our training, we wanted to include Region X in it because I wholeheartedly believe that there's one NACA, and I don't like to see anyone underserved. I feel like some of our units are underserved, FCTs, DOD, and sometimes you all as well, and I wanted to eliminate that.
So we'll keep on down the list that's going on in our collective minds right here. Is the other one was an opportunity to reinvigorate, I would say, the energy inside this union, right? Nothing wrong with any different personality types, introvert, extrovert. Coming out of COVID, one of the things that we saw across all of our bargaining units, it didn't matter which one it was, is that there was that lack of connectivity. That's one of the reasons I believe you see, for a multitude of reasons. Is you can't pin it all the way down to one area, but you see, like you said, like was asked very early on about the rate of membership in the air traffic side. There is a level of connectivity, and ultimately that is a team sport. We're all relying on each other to get that job done. So naturally, we all gravitate towards one another. And when we needed to have a time to bring back that connectivity, well, Andrew and Rich tend to be very much of introverts. And then, I heard things like, man, going to events were, I would say not frowned upon, but they were not, there was no enthusiasm about going out and spending that time with the membership, getting to know them, investing in one another. So that way, the next time that we do meet, there is an impression left on one another. And that, as Jamal said, you knew, man, that's a person that I believe in. Because ultimately what we do in this union is we need to be standing side by side, not somebody up here and everybody else is down here. And that's very much what it feels like to myself coming onto this national executive board right now. Is the NEB's up here, the membership will tell you what to do. And then if you yell loud enough or your issues break through the glass ceiling, we'll address them. And then that kind of makes us run from fire to fire. Ultimately, I think what it takes is a person who is willing to go out and be with the membership, some extroverts that's as Jamal and I are, and engage those members, have that connectivity again, and believe in one another. Not that we're going to give you everything, is that we will all work on these items and issues together. That when we stand side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and we're going up to attack the hill for a military terminology, that as we're attacking that hill, we're taking everybody with us. It's not, hey, you all go do it. Let us know if it worked. We'll be back here and hope it went well. So that's another reason that I think as we saw it, and we've put all this picture together, that we would serve well in this position, because it's time to bring this union and unite it once again.
Yeah, one other for me was, any organization, for its growth, for its sustainment, foundational has to be trust. And I feel like our organization is in a place where members rightfully don't trust us to the extent that they have in the past, and certainly to the extent that we hope they do in the future. And that's because they get mixed messages. You know, Nick and I joke a lot. He was in the Marines, I was in the Air Force. But in both of those, you do have core values, and those core values are pretty much the same, that you have integrity, that you put service before self, and you try to be excellent in all that you do. And I think certainly the service before self has been left behind. It has been a self before service, and that's not pointing at any particular individual, but it does come from the top. We have to be serving the members at all times. And when we get tired of that, we have to put our hand down and say, it's time for someone to replace us. So I believe in that to my core. I know that my life allows for it. I'm 45, as is Nick. My daughter is an adult. I don't have many other things going on in my life. I can pour my entire being into this, and I want to. So that's why I put my hand up and said, if there's going to be other people that do, that's wonderful. But I believe that I have something I can offer this union that'll benefit us and will leave a legacy for us all as a union.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we're going to go to Sam. Sam, please. If you could unmute yourself, and if you want to turn your camera on, great. If not, we understand. But the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Ma'am, sorry.
There's a construction going on outside. Sorry, this is Sam Giberson. I'm in aircraft certification, and recently I'm aware that the FAA reauthorization passed, and in previous congressional bills, there's been a lot of language that applies to my line of business. So I just wanted to ask you if you're aware how much language in the FAA reauth applies to aircraft certification, and then what would be your plan to engage with air leadership about how that impacts the BUEs?
Sam, I appreciate it. One of the things that you'll learn about Jamal and I is if we don't know, then I would be very forthcoming and honest with you. And I could not tell you any specific language, Sam, that I'm aware of. I'm sure there may be, and I'm sure somebody else can speak to it. But if that is something, let me give you, I guess, more of a flavor of our style, is we would immediately go and research. We have the language, and we've broken it down into, different segments of, what would impact and where, because everybody, including Jamal as our national training representative, has weighed in to making that part of the bill successful and bringing portions of it forward. But specifically speaking to legislation that's inside it, Sam, and what it will or will not do inside of aircraft certifications, or how it can benefit and help with that, I don't know anything that we spoke of, and probably that's a flaw of ours. And when we go to NAC in Washington, while or taking the time to educate it, while controller staffing is fundamentally a foundational piece, so that way we all as aviation safety professionals have the ability to keep building this system into its next most amazing life and function. We have to remember that there are core tenets and pieces to our Region X family that need to be explained out there as well, so we can all champion that cause, or at least be aware of it. But I have not heard any to date, but I will definitely check, Sam. And if there's anything I can bring back, I absolutely will.
Well, what I could say to that is it's very similar, Sam, but somewhat different, in so much that I did, from the training perspective, get the opportunity to co-author some of the language that ended up in the reauthorization. And I would say that our union did do a great job. And that's tipping the hat to the current administration, particularly our chief of staff. And I would like to have said it included our GA department and our legislative committee even more, but I wish it did include more of them. But also to say that aircraft cert and people like you should have been reached out to include language. And I hope that it was. And if it wasn't, that'll be something that we clean up in the future. because we know that we're not going to be the experts on everything. I want to be very clear that that doesn't mean we don't take serious consideration to what's going on in Region X, but we rely on those experts, including yourself. And we won't always say, just go to Brad, he'll have the answer for you. We'll make sure that we're versed in the issues very well. And sorry that we don't have a better answer for you as it relates to that.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Don Smith.
Hey, Nick, Jamal, thanks for having this Zoom meeting today. Appreciate it very much. Hey, my questions are on training. It's really two questions, one about internal training within NACA, and then also just training of our members. RT1, as you know, is everyone's drinking from a fire hose, to steal your quote, Nick. But do you have any ideas for follow-on training, or what did you do as an RVP to make sure those new reps were well equipped and had a place to go to get questions answered? I know we had the group meets, but just did you have any program when you were since you're the RVP of Southwest Region?
Yeah, Don, thanks for being here. First of all, you such a long-term rep and representative training instructor. We all get a chance to enjoy hanging out with each other for 5 days in Vegas, year after year. So for all of those who are listening or wondering, that's where Don and I's background have come from, and having different chances to interact since then. But beyond that, Don, specific to what you said, there is. Man, the great ideas usually come from those representatives in the room and building off of that. One of the things that it did when it became the Southwest Regional Vice President is we started holding monthly meetings, but we also started holding what we called the NSW e-board education webinars. So once a month, we would bring all the executive boards together. We would pick two topics, usually with an Article 114 representative, a committee, and a benefits briefing. And we would have everybody talk about it. And then the expectation was for the next 30 days, they were going to talk about it inside of their local. So they were just kind of started, besides the normal day-to-day that we're all working, thousands of issues going on, this is one more way to expand our mind. It was exclusive. We wanted to try it there. And then we decided to take it a step beyond that. We decided to create an app. We actually have an app on every president and vice president's phone in the Southwest region. It has about 13 different fields and criteria that they can contact anyone at any moment. So with, let's say, all the weather that's been rolling through Oklahoma, where you are, Don, or down here in the Fort Worth, or again, across the Southwest region, a FAC rep can immediately go and click DRC assistance. They fill out the form. It emails everybody appropriately. They don't have to go to a website. They don't have to look up somebody's email. Remember to include me. Remember to include John Bratcher. We started taking technology and putting it in their hands. And that's something that Jamal and I want to bring in a wave of a new future, is where our reps aren't trying to, piecemeal all the information together. You need this. You need a training representative. Here you go. Click and type this. All the right people will know from your local, including, especially in Region X. You have, from local presidents to national representatives to your alternate regional vice presidents to regional vice presidents, and keeping an effective symbiotic communication structure there is what has helped take the Southwest region and elevate it to a new level. So those are just a couple of examples of what we started from there, but education is definitely the fundamental piece to it, and communication as well. Don.
And Don, on the air traffic, I'm sorry, not the air traffic, but the FAA to NACA piece of that training is, you and I have talked about it. I've talked about it with Alan, some of the OSF guys, is you guys need OJTI pay, no different than controllers do, and it needs to be accounted for. You're transferring knowledge. They're taking people with no experience or a different experience, hiring them into your specific specialties, and then you train them with no acknowledgement of it in your pocketbooks. And to me, that's unfair and inappropriate, and we have to address that. It doesn't mean it happens super fast. We have to start somewhere. And only because I was exposed to it and have a little bit more of an intimate knowledge of it is seeing the OSF and their booklets and how long it takes to get someone to stand alone, because there's no training syllabus, there's no training process. It's just hang around until you know it, and that's inappropriate. So setting up better training structures so your people can be craftsmen and then master craftsmen in a faster manner is something that I would certainly champion on the behalf of Region X, but mainly on the behalf of NACA, because it's another revenue stream.
And Don, did you? Oh, I wanted to make sure. I'll let you unmute again there, Don. Did you have something else? I saw you hold up the number 2.
Actually, that wasn't a softball. Jamal answered my question. I just,
No,
I mean, that was perfect, Jamal. That was my second question. Is I'm a real proponent advocate for that, and it's just how do you see getting it into our workforce? And you answered it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
no worries, Don. Thank you as well, brother.
Thank you, Don. Next, we're going to go back to Alex Hendrickson. If you could unmute yourself.
All right, how's it going, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I guess my question goes back to the campaign as a whole. I mean, I've been a pretty vocal supporter of you guys from the very beginning. And I have the unique experience of being a former air traffic controller in one of the regions that quite a few of the I guess people are running against. And it seems like there's been a massive smear campaign from a lot of the other candidates, and you guys just have not really even acknowledged it, answered it, just taken it as not even done anything with it. Is there any plans? I mean, I feel like for a lot of the stuff that's being smeared upon, you guys have like actual receipts of things that can counteract all of those things. Is there any plans to sort of counter that with the tack that you guys have had so far?
Yeah, so I would tell you that it is an exercise in patience, and it is an exercise in teamwork, because it's not just myself and Nick. We have a very large and experienced team. And as one of our good friends, Aaron, was saying, we all play cheerleader for one another at some times. There are times where you certainly want to counter the noise, but it ends up being a distraction. And ultimately, this election will be a referendum on what our membership wants. We've ran a campaign that we think we could be proud of, one that's been free of things such as that. And to your point, where there are receipts, we do have to show them, but show them tactfully, as to not get pulled down into the mudslinging. And I know personally, part of it is an agenda by the other side to paint me in a way that some tropes in our world demonstrate me. So I have to be mindful to stay clear of that. And ultimately, it's people like you, Alex, and all of the others on this call that are supporters, and even those that aren't, that can at least speak to the manner in which we've conducted ourselves during this. And hopefully that speaks loud and clear for who we are. And as it relates to our work, there's really no comparison. And I say that in both instances, myself to Mick and Nick to Rich. Our resumes are better. The work that we've been part of is more complete, thorough, and has benefited our membership to a greater degree. Our integrity is at a higher level. Our genuine relationship with members is there. So ultimately, the members are going to have to decide. So we're going to do our best to stay on the high road, brother. Nick?
Well, I do appreciate the question, Alex, because it is a portion of this campaign where that's how you've seen in the past, and that you see now, where we know who is helping lead their campaigns, and this is their style. Go in and attack, stay on a constant attack, and create doubt amongst everyone. And as long as you keep the pressure on them, it doesn't matter if it's right or if it's wrong or if it's slandering or if it's my personal life or Jamal, like Jamal said, tropes, about him. That is the style. But ultimately, somebody has to stand up to the bullies, right? And that's where Jamal and I come into play. Is you have to do that. Sometimes we have to be. I would say today we released a video. I put one out about the inset process, and we have great ideas for it. We think opportunities have been missed in the last years, but that was calling truth about our leadership, the leadership and where we're going. Some may call it mudslinging. Some may say, man, we should never say anything bad. Part of what we are doing is just, engaging in the process of how do we as a union improve. That is a great part of the election. The ugly part of the election is when you have people that are saying, we'll do anything to win a seat or discourage anyone from ever running again. And we believe Rich and Mick have led campaigns that are showing that. And it's going to take two people in some period, Jamal and I, to stand up against it. In 3 years, if we're successful, the next election won't look anything like this. It'll be stand on your merits, it doesn't matter who you're supporting, support one another, because that's how Jamal and I are. We don't care if it's a Rich and Mick supporter or anyone coming up and saying, man, I just don't agree with you guys. Great. Let's have great conversations about who we are and how we can get better as a union. That's where we need to move to. That's what our leadership experiences taught us, what we rely on, and how we'll lead in the future. So set the tone and example now, but at the same time, don't sit back and not be willing to tell the truth.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jamal. Next, we got Alan Casey from OSF. Brother, it's good to see you.
Hey guys, I wanted to come on because where Jamal bounced off here, I just wanted to tell everybody, my absolute support for these guys, and it's really because this meeting is indicative of the reason why my name has come up here. The OSF's, the Fast Team Hard Bargain Unit, gave me way too much credit. I got a lot of great guys that are doing great things in here, but ever since I have come into this union and I've went to the leadership, I've only been embraced. My group has only been embraced. How can we improve our relationship? And NACA has always been on these guys' mind. I met Nick Daniels in October of 2022, and since that day, he has always, at any opportunity, promoted my group. And that is absolutely the reason why I support him 100%. I think he's great for my bargaining unit. I think he's great for Region X. I think he's great for NATCA. So I wanted to come on. Same thing with Jamal. He's helped me in many ways and my bargaining unit, and I completely support him. And I wanted to make sure I said that before you bailed on us, Jamal. But I do have a question. I've seen an absolute value of traveling around and really, as we go to sites to organize, to recruit, and improve our membership, working with local FAC reps, working with RVPs and ARVPs, and anybody in NACA Inter Traffic that just comes in and helps us and says, yeah, we do see the Region X side, specifically the FAST OSF group, as NACA members. That is a huge benefit. We were in Atlanta last week, and there was nobody there that said, oh, this guy's a Region X or this guy's not a controller. It was, we were NACA brothers. I think that is absolutely imperative to improve the membership in Region X. And I would love any thoughts you guys might have just real quickly about how we can absolutely improve that communication going forward. That, when these guys like us and other Region X people walk in the door, they're embraced as brothers, and just anything we can do to improve that relationship. And hey, thanks again, guys. I love you.
I'll start only because I have to go right after this. And thank you, Alan. I would say it's, again, leading by example. I would point to, Alan, the meetings that we had in New Hampshire regarding, a training location for NACA, potentially having a TSU course up in New Hampshire. And the entire energy was about air traffic control, and everything was about air traffic control. And I recognized that in efforts to accommodate us, there was going to be displacement of our other NACA brothers and OSF. At the time, they were not yet under Region X, but still, knowing that didn't make sense, reached out to Brad, who reached out to Alan, and treated them not only as equals, but in some cases made clear that our training would not occur if it was at the detriment or to the detriment of those members there. It's showing those people so that they can go tell the story that this NACA rep, who's the national training rep for the air traffic controllers, didn't see me as that. They saw me as a NACA member. And doing that every place that we are, in every workspace, and in everything that we belong to, then it grows the pot, and that pot is our currency. Our currency is our credibility. Our credibility grows every time we treat each other with that level of respect, and it's not lip service.
Jamal, if you have to go, do you want to say anything before you leave, brother? Because I know you got to go into a meeting. And
for anyone that wasn't on, please don't take it as a disrespect. We do meet and greets here in Oklahoma City. As the training rep, I do have to attend those. We had a bunch of people drop off, and from the national level, I'm the only person that's able to be there. So I'm in the parking lot in the car right now. I'm going to close out. Tremendous respect to you all. Want to continue to grow the union. And internally, you are a litmus test. If we can grow Region X to double the membership that they have right now, that would be a testament to Team NDJH, but to NACA overall, because it won't be because of anything that we did individually. So by all means, I appreciate, respect all of you, and wish I didn't have to go, but I do. So have a great day.
This is also the beauty of being a team, right? Trust in one another, pick it up, and keep moving forward together. And anything that comes up, we'll make sure we debrief Jamal on. But Alan, the other thing I wanted to say is, first, thank you for your not only your endorsement, your support, but ultimately your passion, brother. And that could be passion. People know it could be a passion to disagree or to agree. The beauty of it is when you have passion and you take that for what it is, no matter what the topic may be, as long as we're focused on a solution and a goal like Alan has been, look at the results. You don't take no for an answer. We keep pushing, and that's the fundamental part of a union. But the other aspect of that is the personal connection. The personal connection is to what Alan was speaking about. That's how we do it. That's how we continue building this family, and it doesn't be Region X and everyone else, or our Region X family. No, our NACA family. But we need to make sure, just like in rep training, it was brought to me, I think, by Brad Davidson. He said, one of the things that you can make sure is when there's a question that goes to the room is, hey, pitch it of how does that affect, our members over here? And it was once we started creating those personal connections of, acknowledging everyone in the room, and then having more and more conversations. It takes a leader that's going to go out and say that in front of a group, not just put it off as a secondary and aside, just like the legislation part. We don't know about it, or we're not discussing it because it's not being put in the forefront of how it impacts us all together. So when you go up and you meet somebody, you go out, and I see your hand up, so I'm just going to reference it. I've had the great privilege to work with Pam for quite some time, and all of her talents. And when she came to rep training, I remember the day that she came, and like, Nick, this is my job. There's a lot going on here. And Pam just took the time to get to know me. I took the time to get to know her, and that's how we built immediately a level of bond and connection of how do we move our union forward together. And we know I don't need to be the face of it. Jamal doesn't need to be the face of this union. You all are the face of this union. And people can say it. They can say the great words of, we believe in you and you're going to be the best. Or somebody's going to take the time to actually do it. They're going to show up at your facility. They're going to meet with the new members. We met with an entire group of brand new hires. I could not believe it was a group of 7 potential members in a room, and we just sat around and talked not about just union, but about who they are, their background, where do they come from, what was their major in college. That's where this family grows and builds from, and I think that's what the kind of leaders you have to elect next. Maybe I wasn't fit to be in every era of this union, but I know that Jamal and I are fit to be in this era of the union, where we need connectivity and unity more than ever.
Thank you, Nick. Any follow-up? You're good, Casey? Alan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Brother Alan.
Next, we're going to go to Mark Roush. Brother, if you can unmute yourself.
Hello. I can say a lot of things about Nick Daniels. And I mean, I've known Nick Daniels for over 25 years. He's him and I go way back before the FA days. We didn't stand on the yellow footprints together, but we went to our first Marine Corps ball together. I can say that Nick Daniels is he's a man of integrity. He's a man of passion. He's a man of leadership, and it goes without saying, even without knowing Nick for as long as I have, I would support Nick 100%. He's the right man for the right job at the right time. Jamal, it's the same way. I certainly haven't known Jamal as long as I've known Nick, but every time I've encountered and worked with Jamal on different occasions, whether it be as RT1 instructors or as LEAP instructors together, Jamal, he comes to the table with integrity, with honesty, and he's an open book. You can go to him and talk to him about anything. And the thing is, he won't pull any punches. He's going to tell you how it is, whether you like it or not. But he's going to be upfront. He's going to be legitimate, and he's going to tell you the truth, and that's what matters. We need people in leadership roles in NATCA that are going to say this is the way it is, for better, for worse. But in the end, they both have the passion that we all need, not just to inspire us, but also to motivate us to try and light the passion in all of us to make NATCA better, to make this NATCA family that we all belong to something that's more fulfilling, because we're serving others, because we're looking out for our members, because we all care about our collective and our collective progress, and just the willingness to move the ball forward for all of us. So I can go on and on about Nick and Jamal, but I won't. I do have a question actually in here somewhere. Part of the contract that we're talking about, or that we're negotiating right now, is collaboration. So we're trying to basically bring Article 61 and to mirror it, as the MOU says right now for the Purple Book, into the same language that the Slate Book has for Article 114. When we're successful in doing that through negotiations, how do you see Article 114 and the collaboration process that the Slate Book and the Purple Book BUEs certainly enjoy now, the Blue Book BUEs don't? How do you see that moving forward with expanding our influence? Because I think that as it is today, we really don't collaborate as much as we should internally within NATCA. And it kind of touches on things that were said previously about air traffic and Region X working together side by side. I feel like there's been certainly a lot of missed opportunities where we can listen to air traffic's needs, but we can also leverage that against Region X's capabilities. So better communication in that environment would serve us all much better. How do you see us using that leverage in the future for the Region X and air traffic Article 114 community?
Ralph and Mark, thank you so much. First of all, I didn't know I was going to come to the Region X town hall and smile this much, and appreciate the level of connection that we've had, that we were just speaking of. For those who, like Mark said, this guy taught me how to shave. I just got to be honest. Yes, I didn't have a whole lot of facial hair until I was 19. And at 19 in the Marine Corps, there was no chance for stubble. And Mark was the guy that was like, here, let me help you with that. I think you need some work on that. And that's where our lives had gone. We actually made a commitment to each other, and probably one of the things that's hard to explain to everyone is our commitment together was to retire from the Marine Corps together. That's how much I loved and trusted this guy, and seeing not only his passion, his enthusiasm, but ultimately our collective success. It was that accountability partner to have somebody there. So I won't reminisce for too long, because otherwise we'll be, like Mark said, we'll be here forever. Let's get to the direct question. First, the first thing we need is not only a contract article, it is a president and executive vice president that are going to set the example from collaboration. We've heard in recent times, you've seen them in press releases, news articles, or in what's called strategic leadership meetings, where our president, Rich, will say, we're not doing collaboration, we're going formal on this. As if collaboration is something that you can choose or not choose to follow. When it's in your contract, it's part of what the two parties have agreed to. There's not an option to, walk away from it. There's not an option to go a different direction. It should be the standard that's held, especially when times are tough, because ultimately that means both parties have to be accountable for an answer. So setting that example and bringing that back and with the agency is what's going to help us be able to stand in front of the Region X and the different lines of business and say, here's our collective successes, and here's why collaboration has been important in every single one of them. Because the second that you give the agency the ability to say, but what about the time that you didn't? That's what I've seen in Region X. I've worked with Ed Zuka on the grievance review team now for 2.5 years. And time again, I see managers in Region X be able to run roughshod on the controllers. And then there is no follow-up. Like you said, there is no collaboration. It is cool. That sounds like a neat idea, but we're not held and bound and accountable by that. So even when it is codified in a CBA, because I have full faith in the team that's going out there to negotiate, the current light blue book and incorporate the purple book, it's going to then come down to who can go and walk the walk in the world of collaboration. And when we teach collaboration at rep training, it's not a matter of teaching, this is about win-win, about the skills to do it. Those things are fundamentally important. What it comes down to is, what do the words of the contract say and what did the parties agree? And everything else comes from the example that and the accountability that our leadership is going to hold. The president of our union should be next to any person that is going to be speaking in front of Region X about collaboration. This isn't delegated, and not that Brad Davidson or if you were to be the next Region X RVP, Mark, is not to say, well, Mark, now you go on the whirlwind tour about talking about collaboration. The president and executive vice president of our union must stand there, must talk about it, and must hold the parties accountable for it. So I'll pause there on that. And the other thing that I think, Mark, that takes us to the next evolution of where we need to go is we need to create a playbook when we talk about visits and going out and engaging with one another. We should be able to show a Region X member of 30 years or one, or first day on the job and going to a facility. Hey, here's for NACA members, here's your playbook. Your playbook is just like Alan Casey does. He contacts the RVP, he lets me know, hey, I'm going to Dallas-Fort Worth, will you be around? Hey, next thing he does, hey, contact the FAC rep. Okay, here's the FAC rep, here's all the information pre-filled in. Oh, you know what we could have? A fancy app, like we talked about earlier with Don. Here you go, Region X. You're going to a facility, type this information in here. It'll email the RVP. It'll email the FAC rep, and you'll get a response back and notification. So you don't have to figure out their phone numbers and their addresses and text them or contact them. And now we can start having that dialogue. Hey, when you're here, likely they're going to take you out to lunch anyways. So guess what? Capitalize on that, Region X. Have the FAC rep of a large center, TRACON, or something like that. We'll sign us up for it. Build that relationship there. Those are going to be the issues of how we work together. It's just not making it overly complicated, getting down to fundamentals and basics, and let leaders naturally lead. Get out of their way is part of what we don't do well. We try to make everything a process. Let them get in a room, and then ultimately we need to do the lessons learned and share those out and communicate them with one another, not the how-to, because they'll figure out how to. We have to then connect all the dots of how everyone else can capitalize on it.
Just want to add one more thing is, on behalf of Region X, I want to say thanks, because I know that you and Jamal have been doing facility visits, and we know that you're also visiting some of the facilities in Region X, and it goes a long way. And we really appreciate your willingness and Jamal's willingness and your openness to really get to understand what is important to Region X and be able to speak intelligently on our behalf. So thanks for your appreciation, thanks for your dedication, and thanks for your passion. And you already know you got my vote, but I'm hoping that the other brothers and sisters on here are going to think the same way as me. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And listen, I'll send everybody to go meet with Homer Benavides if you want to know about Region X. When we went up there and visited with him, and we immediately had a room ready to go. There were people that were coming visiting on their breaks. It was an amazing conversation. And that's where I think I actually have the brochures right over here that he made. Nope, you're taking these with you. So that way, and it was all NACA Region X information. And that's where this starts, is getting in those facilities, having those discussions and having a presence. But we'll move on from there. I appreciate you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nick. Pam Rusk. Good afternoon.
It says you're not allowing.
There
you are.
Clear.
I was getting this message. You weren't allowing me to unmute. I says it's typical. He knows I'm going to talk. So anyway, hey, as my career sunsets this next month, I just want to thank you so much. Semper Fi, this Navy girl has always appreciated your friendship and your support as the national rep. It's really been valuable.
Pam, I love you dearly. You have been instrumental in not only leading on the ITC side of things, but like you said, as a person who embraces and embodies exactly why our connectivity is so important. Your friendship has been phenomenal, and I wish you the absolute best. There are not too many Pams in this world, and I wish there were. We would be better for it, but really, it means the world to know you. I look forward to our friendship extending outside of this. And I know you have a lot of grandbabies to take care of. And I'm sure that the family's looking forward to you retiring. So congratulations, Pam, on an amazing career. And thank you for all you've done for this union. We can never properly say how many walls you've broken down on your own to help all of us.
Thank you. So I just want to say I'm looking forward to the next phase of moving into RNAV, and also looking forward to seeing where you guys take this wonderful family of NATCA. I can't give you guys enough support and kudos. And I actually am looking forward to giving my last vote before I walk out the door the end of June. So you'll definitely have my vote, before I get to go. And I really appreciate that opportunity.
No, we thank you, Pam, and it's not only is it an honor to receive it, but here's what we'll do. We will set a goal for while you're in RNAV in this term of what we'll work with the leadership, but hold me accountable. We'll set a goal of what the new number will be of members in Region X, and we'll be able to come back and report and make you proud of all the things that we've talked about and that you've invested in, and did we hit our mark or not, and how do we continue to grow from there? So I'll text you on the side, and we'll see what we can set as a goal and move from there.
I know you will. Semper Fi, baby.
Number 5, Pam.
Thank you, Pam. Congratulations on the retirement. Robert?
Hey, everybody. I'm assuming that's me, Robert Aiken. Okay. So I just want to say, I don't have a question. I've seen Nick and Jamal's work ethic up close. Can't be beat. Nick is tireless. Jamal's tireless. And the person that was just speaking, Mark Roush, he is tireless. And I'm going to take a second just to promote him as well. But just while I have a minute on here, we have, I think, 45, 50 Region 10 members. We need to multiply that by each of us going out and talking to people about what you heard tonight, okay? And get these guys elected, all 3 of them, all right? So take that on. Get 10 people, talk to 10 people. That's 450 votes, right? I haven't heard anything like this in the other side. So just get out there and do it. Let's get them elected. Let's move this union forward. Thank you.
Bob, absolutely appreciate you and love your passion. Listen, this is about sharing ideas. This is about how we collectively improve, and it couldn't, back up what you're saying anymore. It is going to take the tireless work, and do absolutely support Mark for moving us forward, being a part of this. And Bob, that goes with you as well. You have been a force to be reckoned with. And every time that we need somebody to step up, usually in a manner or capacity that others wouldn't think, Bob is on the forefront to mention, is Region X in there? Are we a part of that? Are we going to, make sure? And guess who usually gets the duty since he mentions it? Bob. And the great part is working with him in so many different capacities. But I just want to give a quick shout out to you, Bob, as well. In the world of ATX, it has a Region X presence because of Bob, because of Brad, and watching then all of you, Nicole Wysong, Mark, and so many others take it and run with it to a different level. So make sure not only when we're moving this union forward to another direction, that we take the time and opportunity to appreciate those who are out grinding and making sure your voice is heard every single day. And Bob Aiken's one of those. So, brother, appreciate you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, Bob. I see, Alex, you have your hand up. Before we go to Alex, we're going to take a question from the chat. This is from Britain. Sorry, I'm traveling right now and unable to talk. We have a looming presidential election. One candidate seems to be all about fracturing the union and getting us on the menu. What is your approach if this presidential candidate is elected?
Well, Britton, first of all, miss you, brother, and hope you're doing well. What I want to just level set what we're talking about. Trump previously was elected. He put in draconian executive orders that stripped our fundamental rights as union members to in several different capacities. And I won't rip them all off right now because it wouldn't be giving it the justice it deserves. But a couple of those key components are it takes away our ability to negotiate what's called permissive subjects of bargaining. All our RT1 students that are on here that I see, what that portion is. That's where the agency elects to negotiate something. So when you get into the world, do not believe telework to be a mandatory subject of bargaining. That is something that the agency elects to bargain. Cubicle size space, anything that goes along with like dress codes, the mandatory subjects of bargaining are what then come into play, and that's it. To give you an example on the air traffic side, currently that contract holds about 125 or 124 articles in totality, has several appendices as well. With that, 77 of them immediately go away with the enactment of those executive orders. It's also a way that you can no longer grieve or fight being removed. And I have seen several cases in Region X where we have decided to either fight removals, fight indefinite suspensions, and work to get persons their job back that have been unjustly removed or unjustly harmed overall. That would be taken away and stripped from us. The list goes on and on, as you can see the tone and tenor there. If Trump is to be reelected or elected once again, I guess, he has said he will put those executive orders back into effect at that time. Where Jamal and I want to look at not only we will ensure that we work on compensation in negotiating and expanding our rights. One of the things that you don't do is find ways to have a ticking time bomb where the agency can open the contract at their election, aren't you, while these executive orders in effect. We have to be strategic in how we're going to approach this. Right now, today, this Region X contracts are open. And that is one of the things that we had to be mindful of is, will we be able to close it before January if Trump was to be elected and there are draconian executive orders, once again, immediately reenacted, as he has said on his website. Because in the second, if a contract is still open, even though it was being negotiated earlier, those laws go into effect and can harm us. So that is, something that the parties decided, or that NACA decided to take the risk on, because we knew how important it was for the pay discrepancies. As Mark mentioned, collaboration, bringing in a balance with, telework and remote work, and making sure that there's clear definitions around that. Those things were on the precipice of us missing an opportunity and then not having another ability to open it. So if, again, all of this to say and set up, if we have a executive orders in effect, Jamal and I will be very strategic. We're not going to kick the can down the road. We're not going to be scared to negotiate. We have to change what we do and how we attack. We attack legislatively to remove the executive orders. We attack by getting other persons engaged and involved to take up removing these executive orders, and that's going to be relying on other labor leaders that are out there, because if we collectively look and find ways to engage Congress to remove that, that is going to help us. But what we can't have is a ticking time bomb waiting for the end of that, because if it doesn't happen, then again we lose tens, 20, or decades of collective work that are going to put us in a position to have to eventually try and get all of these things back. You then operate in the world of, if we talk legislatively, let's talk about LR. LR is your ability to negotiate. We would start talking about negotiating robust MOUs instead of full term agreements that would move us forward. Just like the limited reopener, that only addressed some of Region X's issues in light blue and purple book. We still have plenty of other issues that we need to work out there. Those could be done in robust MOUs, but quite often we were used to single setting MOUs. That strategy can change. We will know immediately when we pay proposals across to the agency and there are draconian executive orders in effect, what is going to be the tone and tempo that the White House, that the Department of Transportation is going to bring forward for us. So all of these things must be done, but what we can't do, as you said, is just be willing to walk into a slaughter and say, we'll tough it out because we believe in you. It's about believing that we will come up with the strategies along the way to never rest. It doesn't take a term negotiation to move this union forward. It takes leaders that are willing to fight on all fronts and not just kick in the front door only.
Thank you, Nick. Next question, Alex Hendrickson. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
All right, I promise this is the last time I'm talking, and this isn't a question as much as it is I guess a statement, and specifically about Jamal. So like I said, I was a controller in the New England region since 2016. Moved over to region, or I guess the OSF back in 2020, and Region X a couple of months ago. So I've been out of air traffic control since 2020, but I was in mixed region when he was running for RVP. That was the first time that I met Mick when he was running, and I've met him probably about 24 times since then. ATX, the last time being NACA in Washington. And every single time that I have met Mick, he did not know who I was and did not even remember meeting me in the past. I was a new face to him that he had never been introduced to before. Jamal, I met him for the first time back in 2021, 2022, I'd say. And then very brief introduction. He was coming through our facility for the training facility. We met for maybe 30, 45 minutes and didn't see him again for another year. The next time I saw him, he remembered exactly who I was right by my name and could speak everything that we had spoken about in the past. So that just really goes to show who we're dealing with as far as Jamal versus Mick. I've known Mick for 8 years now, and he still doesn't know who I am. So that's all I really have to say about that.
Alex, I appreciate you, brother. And listen, this time is y'all's. That's why, Jamal and I have each other's back. It's one of the rare times that Jamal has had to, one of us has had to go. But Alex, first of all, how does anybody forget that mustache? It's always, I don't know how that happens. The second side of that is it shows the level of importance of connecting with the membership, right? When you have people that will say, man, how do we get out of this thing and quickly go, get away and head to do something else, that is a sign of who we are and where we're going. And it's something that it fundamentally cannot stand behind. There's a very distinct thing that we teach our representatives. And it's, if you don't agree with something, then be willing to have a solution and challenge it or step up to do it. Jamal and I could sit comfortable. Jamal is the national training representative. He has redefined that role. And you see how he's leveraging that into Region X through this town hall. I love being the Southwest Regional Vice President, but I fundamentally do not agree with the direction that we're going. The more that we disconnect from our membership, especially in examples with Region X, the more that we decide to, try to leave events early, fly out as soon as we can, or not take the time to break bread, connect, whether it's have a drink together, those things are going to help us move forward. It builds trust. It gives us the ability to connect like this, and ultimately, we're going to work with one another to how do we champion the ideas, because now it's just not my idea, it's our idea, because we took the time to engage and to talk about it. So that is something, Alex. I know you weren't really positioning for that, but ultimately, when you see those things and you see your union going the wrong direction, you stand up and do something about it instead of sitting back and saying, I'll run for the Southwest Region RVP position again. I become a controller back at Fort Worth Center or the president of this union. Either way, I stand by what the members choose. But I think the members choose to unity. I think that they are choosing to have their voice heard again. I think that they're choosing to not be felt like there's an NEB above them, and that they are just waiting to be told what to do. We're collectively waiting for a purpose, and what's our purpose inside this union, and that's something Jamal and I want to deliver. So, Alex, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to say that out loud and address it with this group and this amazing room of leaders. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Alex. We're here for as long as you want. Honestly, this is the fourth time I host, and I've been on one that lasted 3 hours, so we could stay here all night. This campaign is dedicated to you, to us, the members. So if you have any other questions, any other comments, please use the chat, raise your hand function. If you're done, thank you so much. We'll sit around for a minute or two and see where we go. But Brad, thank you, brother. Go ahead.
Thanks. Not sure if my screen's kicking on or not. All right.
There,
Nick, and relay this to Jamal. And again, thank you for being here tonight. What I wanted to express to the other Region X members on this call is specific to not just how we may view Nick and Jamal, how we interact with them, how they interact with us, how they get to understand who we are as people, as a region, as our professions, and how we're all intertwined within NACA. But more importantly, in a different aspect, is how the agency interacts with these two. My first interaction when I became the RVP for Region X with Daniels-Haltom was at a slam. I didn't know him. I had never met him before. And I immediately thought, now who the heck is that guy talking? The agency is deferring to him. The agency has true respect for him. You could tell they have true trust. They could tell he was the expert in the room for what she was presenting, being training. He had agency counterparts with him. Everyone deferred to Jamal. Everyone in the room was incredibly respectful, but more so, questions were geared towards Jamal on how we, agency and NACA, can move forward with regards to training, because that was and is his primary function for this union in the role that we put him in. Incredibly successful, but it's that respect that he has because he's honest, because he's direct, because he's trustworthy on why the agency looks at him in a similar vein that we all do that have gotten to know him. Nick Daniels, the first time I met Daniels, I was in Washington, D.C. at a dinner with Paul Rinaldi when I first became a regional vice president. And Nick was once again there with several broken bones for some odd reason. I think it was a car crash at that time from his Mustang. And talk about a firecracker. All of you who have met Nick know that energy. It's not a turn on and turn off thing. He doesn't turn it on in front of us and then shut it off and then it's just calm Nick. Nick is 100% NACA, 100% membership, 100% the collective bargaining agreement and our rights. And I would have the confidence in him supporting the entirety of Region X and the entirety of this union to what our needs are moving forward and our ability to challenge when the agency steps on our rights, steps on our toes, and support our initiatives moving forward that we have. So thank you for being on, gentlemen. It's that kind of passion And that kind of genuine interaction that you saw from Pam today, I've known Pam for a number of years, and we can't say enough good things as a collective about Pam and what she's done. It's not about Pam. She's done it because she's a sister in this union, recognizes the importance of her role, has built up a bench within her unit to take over upon her retirement. Not a singular person, many people. She knows what it means to move us forward as a union. And that interaction, folks, that you saw from Pam today is genuine, and it's repeated over and over and over with the people that you see Daniels-Haltom and Nick Daniels interact with. That special is something we need to harness, and it's what's really going to take our union into the future. So thank you, gentlemen, for being on today.
Brad, absolutely love you, brother. And thank you. Thank you all for the position. Alex, I want to make sure before we roll into a closing, did you have anything else we wanted to cover, or we're going to wrap this up?
You know, we just got one more question, so I'd be remiss to not include this. That's what we're here for.
And I will first say thank you to Brad, and I'll make sure I address it here in a moment. Brad, love you, brother. Thank you for that.
Perfect. Thank you. This is from G. Clinton. What are your thoughts on money spent by RVPs and NASH and NACA on alcohol at events? And then I think participation in NACA Region X is low in part because of some locals aren't consistent with regular meetings and consistent engagement of our membership. What are your thoughts on making RT1 virtual training available to Region X? This is a good option for some members.
So usually I break these questions up. So Alex, I may rely on you to go back to this. Let's start with thoughts about alcohol. First of all, our members control where the money of this union is spent. If our members don't want to spending $1 on alcohol, then we can put that can be proposed at the convention to be put in the Constitution, and ultimately that's what our union lives by. As for me, I think it is done, with levels of moderation, with levels of understanding what our overall budgets are. Compared to our $28 million that we bring in revenue, what is spent usually on food and alcohol is just a drop in that bucket. But let's talk. I do support absolutely going out and buying a drink. Think about this. Let's say we have a class. Let's say it's any of our classes, but let's specifically talk about representative training. You're asking 44 people to come in from all around the country for a period of time to be away from their family, be away from their friends, you put all their personal affairs aside to learn and engage about this union. We usually do one class dinner on Monday nights, and that usually include about 1 to 2 drinks. And then throughout the week, there's other regional vice presidents that tend to, be at there, and they'll either host some drinks on the individuals, and especially, there's nights where Region X steps up and says, "Hey, we want to have all of our NACA family out and discuss and engage all of us as NACA as one," as you've heard many times on this. Those small investments, and we've run some of the numbers, it usually comes down to like less than $30 a person over the totality of the time, because not everybody partakes. A lot of people are around from the conversation and ideas. But that's where business doesn't happen from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 5 p.m. whenever you quit for your working time for that day. The business of this union continues all day and all night because we're so passionate about it. And it takes leaders that are going to be around and engage in those discussions and conversations. It's not about frivolous spending. It's not about throwing out money. It's about taking time to connect. And the way in the American society and economy that we usually connect is over food and a drink. If it was some other method, then we would absolutely capitalize on that. But that's the way that you build this momentum. That's where you build the energy. That's where somehow we discuss and solve the problems of the world, and then wake up to take it on the next day and figure out how we're going to put all these great ideas we had in place, or in our head, actually in place, and enact them from there. That's where these bonds that you've seen have happened from. So do I support it? Yes, as long as it's done reasonably responsibly. People are out buying $400 bottles of wine. That's something that we should be talking about. That's something that we, as a president, would say, okay, that's not the tone and tempo we set. Anywhere we go, you'll hear quite often say, hey, keep your drinks below Johnny Walker Black and below prices. Why? Because that seems to be responsible, place of what has become a norm for us. If this union said beer only, or we pass something like that, we'll go by whatever the members say. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and try to act like we need to be somehow a savings account suddenly, like the few $1,000s that will be saved from it will save the union, and suddenly we'll have 100% membership. That's categorically false. But what will lead us into a better place is when we take the time to embrace one another, appreciate each other, and learn about each other from that. So I know the second question was about RT1, I believe. Alex, what was that portion of it?
Sure. He has a statement and then followed by a question. So I'll read both. I think participation at NACA Region X is low, in part because some locals aren't consistent with regular meetings and consistent engagement of our membership. What are your thoughts on making RT1 virtual training available to Region X? This is a good option for some members.
So I think there's portions of that we can make available for our Region X or anyone in NACA, and that's communicated to the RVPs. What we can't do is a wholesale on RT1 to do it all just virtual. First of all, it's 5 days of engagement, and a lot of that is discussions and strategy and engagement real time, and things that we don't want, I would say, recorded and put out for use, because everything that we do, listen, this is going to be recorded. Any email I send, any email you send as leaders, you have to know likely it's going to end up in the hands of management, and ultimately it can be used against us as a union. There are benefits to being in person in having those real-time discussions about the different aspects of our union that you will cover. However, there are many modules inside there. Article 2, Article 6, representational roles, right? The employees' rights. When we start talking about grievances, when we talk about our legislative activities inside of it, all of these things we can break apart, and that was the beauty of building RT1. So if we need to put portions of those on virtually or just to spark the interest, those could be done in hour-long bites and segments, and would love to participate and be a part of that. Ultimately, what I'd love to do is build a calendar with the National Training Committee. Just recently become the chair of the National Training Committee. I'd love to build a calendar that includes Region X and all of NACA. We're saying every month of the year, we have, based on kind of what's going on. January, you're getting ready for tax season. Have a tax webinar, they already do, but ensure that it's being advertised out nationally and not just through to the fact reps or treasurers. Maybe other people want to learn or hear about it. Also about the importance of, we could expand that to talk to the general membership about the importance of union finances. You then move through the categories from there of, what months and what happens to this union. And I think those types of engagements and building up the education will ultimately lead to a stronger Region X and a stronger NACA as a whole.
Thank you, Nick. We got 2 more questions in the chat, so let's continue. Eric Tanberg. I apologize for not being here earlier as I had a different obligation. My question is about the difficulty recruiting staff specialists at the facility level. Might not be Region X, but I do believe that we are missing out on talented individuals just don't bid staff jobs due to no good time. Do you have any ideas to help alleviate this trouble?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shared trouble, right? We have facilities. Alex, I'll just rely on you for a second. How many staff specialists do you have at SoCal TRACON? Do you know approximately?
Yes, we have 10.
Okay, and how many of those are members there?
100%.
There you go. It is finding a place exactly like that. I pre-knew that answer, and Alex wasn't set up for it because we went there and visited him. And that was one of the things that Alex talked about and how proud he was of that membership rate with his staff support specialist. And that's something that we have to get back to. At Fort Worth Center, we had talked about ideas around having a staff support specialist rep. It was, the facility representative. And I didn't want that to be seen as a different level, or, hey, there's only 6 of them, or there's only 10 of them, so, we'll just have somebody else deal with it. When I became the fact rep for the 6 years I was there, I decided that I was going to be the representative for them directly. I would go talk to them. I would engage with them. I would meet with them, work issues with them, no matter what they were, because I wanted them to realize the facility representative of 300 isn't parsing you out to be something different. Areas that we have 50 members in, or and going from there, or now unfortunately with the staffing crisis, some of those are down to like 30, members in those areas. That was where okay, that system had been set up, but it takes a leader going in and doing that, and that's something that we would encourage. Is what is the structure at our facilities? Are we addressing their issues? And is it because we're not teaching people about the purple book? I think that's what scares representatives off right at the beginning. Especially, let me give you the example of becoming the RVP. One of the very first questions I got was from an FCT, who we're going to be talking with very soon and doing a town hall with them. RVA has a completely different contract. When you go and you say, oh man, I can't rip out that contract article today. It took sitting down and investing time to look through that and learning things like everything from job sharing. I'd never heard something like that, to their negotiated processes and what it means to them, to health and welfare in 256. All that to be said, when you bring and take the time to not just know the headline of something and be, I would say a jack of all trades. I'm not saying, well, Jamal and I will be the expert of everything, because that means the depth of expertise is out there, but a level of expectation is set that we're going to teach you about these additional items. I think we should set that expectation. If Alex is going to represent persons of a different contract, we should make sure Alex has the tools and resources to provide them the proper support, not just what the slate book says alone. That's leadership, that's expectation, that's solving an issue. And I'm glad that you actually brought it up, because it's an area that we're lacking in now for sure.
Thank you, brother. Before we go to the next question, we did have a little follow-up or clarification from G. Clinton. He was the person that sent the question reference virtual training.
Yes.
They said, for your info, I should have said RT1 in the geographic regions,
Okay.
not just travel to Vegas like they did recently in New England.
Yeah, so every region can do that in any shape and form. With Region X, obviously wildly different, because Region X covers coast to coast and north to south, and we're moving from there. That the RVP could set up one in different locations. I think it's incumbent upon us, and I'll give you the just brief background of what it did becoming the National Training Committee chair. Is immediately asked for all the contracts for Vegas, because I've heard this, right? Why don't we move this around? And usually it was an answer of, well, Vegas is cheaper, so it's more cost effective for our union. Okay, well, that's great. Let's see the contracts. How much are we actually paying for them? No National Training Committee chair. This is not to knock on any of them. This is just when you expand your mind and the style of leadership that you go into is you have to immerse yourself in the issue. They say, well, we actually don't have them. They're kind of spread apart in different emails, and usually email to the executive vice president. And if he has them all, I guess he could send them all out to you. And we were happen to be working on the contracts for the following year. So immediately built a repository. Now all of our contracts for all of our RT1 classes are stored there, and built a cost comparison sheet for the number of days, the number of attendees, so we can start collecting data. So taking that geographically around, if you have an idea or proposal, we can immediately compare that of how much RT1 costs. It approximately costs about $74,000 is what we estimate on every class that goes out there, for everything out the door. At least that's our placeholder, some slightly more, some slightly less. Is if we can come in under that for 44 participants or find a cost value, we should be exploring that. And that's something that the reason we started collecting the data now, so we can make that happen in the future. So all that to say, the answer would be, we should not stay just tuned to Vegas. If it's not cost effective, if it is, then we should continue to be able to explain that to our membership of why we're making that decision.
Thank you, Nick.
No worries. There's great ideas that are on this town hall.
Absolutely. We have one question from Bruce Sanchez. There was a response there by Ed Zuka, but let's ask the question. So is this an appropriate forum to ask if there are inflation and cost of living adjustments factored into our retirement annuity in new contract negotiations? The last few years have shown how inflation can drastically reduce our financial security. Ed Zuka did on the chat give a detailed response to that. I don't know if you want to add anything.
What I would like to say is that one, we have to be careful tying ourselves to inflation, but we need to use it as a position to negotiate and be able to speak to. Our economic times have changed, especially for those getting hired now, which Region X we're obviously encouraging. And need to engage with the agency to ensure that there are the appropriate number of, especially engineers and architects. I know is an area that's been hurting, but you can see in aircraft certifications and moving forward from there that the need for these individuals and these highly skilled individuals has to keep up. While we can entice them with remote work and telework, that's not going to be the only thing that factors into that. It's going to be, what is my level of compensation? Is it commensurate with the job functions I'm performing for the government or in an outside industry? It's one, we have to keep track of what's going on in the outside industry and what people are being paid, because this economy is going to drive those wages up. It's also about ensuring that we don't just sit back in the interim and not find ways to increase compensation for whether that's things that will be added to your retirement, or as Jamal said, different differentials that you don't have to put money in your pocket until we negotiate again. Where he was talking about training pay. For those who don't know, he said OJTI, and for us, it's called on the job and training instruction pay. And where air traffic controllers right now get a 20% hourly differential for the hours that they perform on live traffic. We're trying to expand that, is doing something similar for there. So looking at again, not bury the lead and answer the question. We have to look at premiums and differentials that we haven't explored before to help overcome inflation in the interim, but not tie ourselves to it, because if there is deflation, we don't want to just say, well, we get no raises in the year of deflation. No, our compensation should be commensurate with the job that's being performed, and that economic culture can continue to change. So set the pay bands now as we're being corrected, but that's not where they should end in the light blue book negotiations overall. It should be another point that we as a union build from for in the future.
Thank you, Nick.
No problem at all, brother.
Okay. We have one from Mark Roush that says, there are numerous RVPs in this town hall. Can we ask current and former RVPs present to share their views regarding the abilities of Nick and Jamal, as their views are certainly unique?
Well, I don't know who all's here right now, but man, I would never shut down one of my fellow brothers or sisters in any moment from speaking. And it doesn't have to just be a moment of ego boosting. Is there any other questions that I want to make sure we address before we go to a larger group? And my brother Homer did show up. I'm looking through the names. I'm sorry. I'm quickly looking through here. Mark, did you have anybody in particular?
Yeah, I'm scrolling too. I see Jim and Eddie.
Previous, former.
Yeah, I saw Jim. I saw Clint. I know Brad already spoke, but I think it would be, I think it's important because there's some things that Brad did share previously about, and Ed Bratcher's an upcoming
RVP elect John Bratcher.
So I just think it's important because I know that Brad speaks to the coalition of RVPs, and what does that look like, and how does that work, and how do the RVPs, present, future, and former, how do they anticipate being able to work on an NEB with significant leadership change, such as with you, Nick, and Jamal stepping into that, as well as what does it look like for RVP elect John Bratcher? What's that going to look like for us?
John, I don't know if you're around, but if you are, raise your hand. And if any of the other RVPs want to raise their hand, so that way we can then just call them. We'll go in that direction. I don't know if Jim and Clint are still here. I quickly scanned. They may have had to go. But I want to first address what Mark was saying. When you say coalition, I would say a group of unique individuals that trust one another. a group of unique leaders who are willing to have the honest and real conversations, whether it's the thing you want to hear or the thing you don't want to hear. But ultimately, somebody who's going to pick you up, and they don't even have to know that you're having a tough time. I'll share it on here. I'm not scared to share it all. I went through a divorce during the early portions of this campaign. It was actively said that it would be brought up in the election if I was to run. And you know what? If anything's worth doing, it's worth doing because you believe in it, not because of what it's going to personally do to you. But Brad Davidson, I would say probably on a weekly, if not bi-weekly basis, would text out just to say, hey, man, love you. Are you good? Do you need anything? I know there's a lot going on. When Brad was, recently dealing with some, family issues with, health in his family, not for him or his immediate family, but, moving from there. It was another moment that I could reach back out to him and reciprocate that, or just check in on him when we do have rough times or we do have things, because these are high pressure situations that we have to all stand in. But when you have that built up with one another, it ultimately allows you all to stand shoulder to shoulder and speak your truth. And that's what this union needs to get back to and be a part of. So not just a bunch of yes people, because that is putting us in absolutely the wrong direction. And by the way, sorry for the marks on my face here. As you can tell, the sun is setting. And that's what the light situation is going on. But John, I'll unmute you, brother. You go ahead if you want to speak to anything Mark said there.
I'll see. I don't know if my camera. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
So, nice. So seriously, I've worked with Nick and Jamal through a variety of fashions. It's recently I saw on social media that Nick and I have been Facebook friends for 14 years. And I will say I've known him longer than that, but it sort of reminded me of how long we've known each other. Jamal and I started on the slate book contract negotiations teams, sat next to each other in what we called stations, but for 11 months lived next to each other, good, bad, indifferent. But both of them, being the ARVP or now RVP elect, but working side by side with Nick, I've worked with both of them very intimately when it comes to our union work. We know each other. We know what our strengths and our weaknesses are. We don't hold back. And I think that's the beauty of what I'm looking forward to in the next National Executive Board is getting back to doing the work. Our union, our membership deserves a group of leaders that are willing to push the ball forward and always strive to make their lives better and protect their rights. And I can tell you every single day for the last 2.5 years, at least, for Nick and I serving together as the RVP and ARVP, there's not a day that goes by that we're not pushing the ball forward. We're not trying to do something. I mean, it's when Mark said earlier about, or I think it was Brad said, there's no off switch for Nick. It's what I love about it, because like we call it grinding. We just go in and we work, and there is no off switch with him. It's till 1 o'clock in the morning, and then somehow we're back up at 7, driving to the next facility, doing whatever we're doing. And so I expect no less when they're elected. Is we're going to be doing the same amount of work, obviously different roles, but I'd be excited to see where we can take this union and its contracts and its members with the experience, but more importantly, the work ethic of Jamal and Nick. So excited to serve on the National Executive Board. We'll be more excited to see our future leadership and us pushing the ball forward for our membership. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Oh, John, thank you. You were putting you on the spot, jumping in there. But one thing I know about John Bratcher is he could speak about this union at any moment with his passion. And, while we're on the Region X Town Hall, I do also want to say, John, on behalf, I know Brad would say it, Mark, every leader, Don, Bob, it doesn't matter, Nicole, keep going. The list is long of how many are here. He is the chair of the organizing committee as well. And I know he has taught me, not just, Region X members, he has taught me about what organizing looks like, the difficulties, the dividends it pays off in the end, and then ultimately why it's the fundamental core of union, and how that we cannot ever lose focus on that. With John now being on the National Executive Board, I look forward to him bringing that to everyone that's there. So that way they can know and gain the knowledge and experience I've had from, like you said, spending not only 14 years, but the last 2.5 years, probably more hours in a car with him than I usually get to see in my kids. So with that, Mark, if there's anything else that you were looking for or wanted to address, absolutely turn it back to you.
No, I would have appreciated other RVPs that were here. I think they, like you said, some of them dropped off, but I think it's important to know what the NEB is going to look like moving forward. John providing his perspective, obviously that's helpful. We know Brad's perspective. So no, thanks for stepping up, John, and taking a hit for the team. So that's all I got.
Sure, it's a team that wouldn't mind John Bratcher ever speaking on their behalf. Alex?
Yes, sir.
Back to you, brother. Anything else that you want us to cover?
Looking through the chat, I don't see any other questions. I don't see any other hands up. It's been an incredible honor for me to be able to host these on behalf of Nick and Jamal and all of you, the members. This is what really matters. The membership matters, and it matters to them. That's why I support them 100%. So on that, we have our social media on the chat. We have volunteer forms there. Nick, do you want to close us out?
Keep it short because I got a chance to talk a lot longer than normal on so when Jamal and I are both hitting answers, and I found myself just how many thoughts go through your head when you have this level of engagement. First of all, Region X, thank you for showing out, showing up, and truly showing why the level of connection is needed. The personal level of connection, all the way to taking the time to educate one another is so vitally important. Region X has a energy that is pouring out right now, more than I've ever seen, and that's indicative because of the leaders that we have. But we must capitalize on it. Your president and executive vice president, need to acknowledge it, but they need to participate and be one of those that can stand there with you, and that you say, yeah, they're not just somebody else, they're one of us. Jamal and I shouldn't be the air traffic guys. We should be part of the union membership and leadership, and that's where we need to go. The issues in Region X extend beyond, telework, remote work, collaboration, cubicle, size and space. So many of especially pay and all the compensation. The issues aren't just on the surface. The issues are now, how do we take and harness that information and show what our collective wins, losses, and ultimately, again, our purpose is to move us forward. And when members feel and people feel to be part of something, they'll want to be, and it's infectious. When they look at their left or right, like, hey, do you know this thing that's going on? I want to be a part of that too. And that's what we can build in Region X. I know it seems like a daunting task, but I do not see it as a challenge. I see it as a target of opportunity. I see it as a moment that we get to harness our collective power and energy and focus it on building this family as one. Don't be about the words. We got to be about the actions, and we'll move it forward together. Look forward to spending that with you. Thank you for taking the time. Get out and vote, because the last thing I got to say on this is this election for us is winding down. It's going to be final remarks, last moments. For you, it's full steam ahead. This is where you have to start doing that thing. Just like organizing, you're going to have to grab somebody and bring them to say, you got to go to your mailbox and you got to vote. You have a postcard inbound from Jamal and I. You have posters going up in every one of your Region X facilities. They'll be there very soon to remind you, this is your chance to exercise your voice. Don't be a passenger on this. You have to go and say, this is the direction that I believe in and that I want to be a part of. And if it's not with Jamal and I, and you think something else is better, you'll be embraced all the same. But do not look to have somebody else, that there's a bigger voting block. This Region X has over 1,000 voting members. You can be the difference in this election. but that's if you get you gather everyone to vote. If you turn out at only 20%, then we don't collectively harness the same power. Here, you want your motivation? The agency is going to be looking to see what our collective turnout is. If it's 4,000 nationwide out of 15,000 voting members, they'll see how serious we are. The more that you amplify that and show that we will stand, whether we win by 1 vote or by thousands of votes, that this union will not sit quietly while the agency chooses or picks our path for us. That we'll be together on it every step of the way. Thank you all. Appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your evening. And Alex, if there's anything you need, it's all you, brother.
Thank you. We did get one question just last second. It asked about the NRX Article 48, 114 reps. It's collaboration. I think you spoke to it. Maybe we can take that offline and respond directly to Don Schmeichel.
No, Don will. Don, let me just see if it's a quick answer. How do we join our ATC peers in having our 114 representatives? I think that wall's been broken down. It started to with Mark Roush, but needs to be doubled down. I just make sure, Don, and if you want to follow up, we'll do that offline, is having a world where we have our experts in there speaking to our issues. A lot of these times, these air traffic positions also have Region X either influences or ultimately hold the keys to the car in a lot of the cases when it comes to funding or anything else, when it planning or things like that. Having them engaged and a part of it as well is absolutely something, Don, that's imperative to our future success and our collective being able, or collective ability to tackle these issues and have our influence in it. So, Don, yes, while it's framed as a question, I'll almost just take it as an idea, is that those things we need to seek any opportunity we can to make that happen. So there you go.
Thank you, Nick. As mentioned in the chat, ballots go out June 3rd. We need everyone's help to get us across the finish line. We need Nick and Jamal to be the president and executive vice president of this organization. If you haven't verified your address, your mailing address, you can do that at my.natca.org, as well as update it there. So on that note, I think thank you so much. Have a great night. Thank you for spending 2 hours on this Zoom with us. It was a great honor to be able to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks to the whole team, and thank you, Region X.